is an Assistant Dean of Students and Director of Student Assistance here at Iowa State. Please give a warm hand for Mendes. Camila Mendes is an up-and-coming actress, best known for her role as Veronica Lodge on Riverdale. Riverdale is a popular show featured on the CW and Netflix, featuring a complex plot that keeps its viewers on the edge of their seat. Please join us in welcoming Camila Mendes.
It is, yeah. Maybe you have to scream. It's gonna be weird.
I can do it.
Well, welcome to Iowa.
Yeah. Should I turn off my coat? I'm kind of cold, but
I'm real worried about that.
I'm probably gonna get real sweaty real fast.
This is like the warmest day of the week, by the way.
It's tropical.
Yeah. So, welcome to Iowa. So, have you ever been before?
No, this is actually probably my first time in the Midwest. Unless you count Chicago, but does that count?
No! So, we're so glad to have you tonight. We've got about an hour of your time, so we're so excited.
I can't wait.
Okay, so let's get started with the simple stuff.
All right.
Tell us more about you. Where are you from, originally?
I'm from Miami, but I moved around a lot as a kid, so I'll give you the whole spiel.
Yeah, just
Have it.
we got an hour.
It's like a monologue. I was born in Charlottesville, Virginia. Moved to Alpharetta, Georgia, back to Charlottesville, back to Atlanta, and then Orlando, Brazil, and then Parkland, Florida, Coral Springs, Pompano Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, New York, where I went to college, and then now we film Riverdale in Vancouver, but I'm based in LA.
Okay, well that was quite the journey in 20 seconds. So why do y'all move around so much? Why did your family move so much?
My dad's work. My dad was just like a CEO, and he kept getting transferred to different cities and stuff, and we just kind of went along with him. And then my parents got divorced when I was like 8 years old, and then after that I was just like, my mom couldn't make up her mind where she wanted to live, so we were just always following her around. Yeah.
So, during that journey, at what point did you say, I want to be an actress?
I honestly, I don't have a vivid moment of when I decided to be an actress. I literally just wanted to be one for as long as I can remember. I was always a very performative kid. Like, my sister would write skits and I would perform in them for the family. And we were just really goofy and I was really hyper. And then I think my mom noticed that in elementary school I took part in a lot of the plays there. So then she ended up putting me in a school in South Florida that had a really strong arts program. It wasn't a performing arts school, but they just had a really good program. Like, the owner loved the arts, he invested a lot in the arts. And I think that was around 6th grade, so when I went there, I just kind of really saw how, all the people around me in the program were there on a scholarship, so they were Broadway level talent at a young age, and that really inspired me, and it made me kind of take acting really seriously, and it made me decide that it was actually something I wanted to pursue.
Excellent. So, were there any particular actors that, as you were growing up, you were like, I want to be like them? She's getting warm, see?
Yeah, it's hard to get on here. Yeah, funny enough, I loved Vanessa Hudgens in High School Musical. When I'm talking about as a kid or a tween, what I loved, Vanessa Hudgens in High School Musical, Rachel Bilson in The OC, and Leighton Meester in Gossip Girl. Those were all kind of the OG New York princess. And I think those were kind of especially Vanessa Hudgens, I think she was kind of the closest thing to what I looked like as a kid. That was reached a certain level of success, and I don't remember there being a lot of young Latina actresses to look up to. So she was like a big thing. And then as I got older, you know, and I watched more films and stuff, I started to like look more up to like Natalie Portman and Nicole Kidman. And
So if you had the opportunity to engage with any of these folks, your heroes, Vanessa or anyone?
funny enough, when I had just shot the pilot of Riverdale, and I just signed with a new manager, and she was introducing me to all these agents. We like met with 5 different agencies, and the last one was CAA, where I am now. And I just remember walking into the waiting room for my meeting, and Rachel Bilson was sitting there, and she just looked up and smiled at me in the waiting room, and I was like, oh my God, this is where I am. Like, this is where I'm signing, because it was like an omen to me. And Vanessa Hudgens, I'm actually gonna meet her tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
She's back here.
She's in Atlanta filming Bad Boys. Awesome. As is my boyfriend, and so I'm gonna go visit him, and she's there.
There you go. So, kind of took us through our journey. You mentioned college. I understand went to NYU. Tell us what your college experience was like, because we have a lot of college students here watching. What was it traditional, drop you off? And I know NYU is a little different than I visited both.
Yeah, it's a little different. But I was also like a theater major, so that's like a very different experience as well. But college was rough for me. For the freshman year was a really rough one. I think like going to New York, you're just kind of like just excited to be in New York, and so there was like a lot of like going out and like clubbing, and like that really like took up a lot of my time freshman year to like an unhealthy degree. My teacher, like in acting school, it's like participation is everything. Like they can't really grade you on how talented you are because it's so subjective. So if you're not there in class, like you fail, and it's different than like going to lectures, because lectures, it's like they don't really care about attendance. As long as you get a good grade, you're fine. But with acting school, like I was like sometimes like too hungover to go to class, and so I just would skip it. And there came a point where I was like my teacher, I walked in like late into class once, and my teacher was like, he like yelled at me in front of everyone and made me cry. It was like really bad. I was like, he's like, make your work more important than you are, like, you're wasting your talent, blah, blah, blah. So then, around like sophomore year, I really started to get my shit together. And then I was like a killer student, so like, you know.
Okay. Well, that's good, and clearly you're having success, so congrats. None of our students actually ever miss class with alcohol, so.
No. I can't imagine they do.
From the dean's office, I know that never happens. So.
At the school.
Good job. So, how much, remind us of the timeline from graduation to your current role.
So, I interned at a talent agency after my sophomore year, because I just wanted to learn about business. They don't really teach you anything about the business, which is odd to me, because it's like NYU is supposed to be this like really reputable school for the arts, and they do take the art really seriously, and like they teach you the craft and all that stuff, but they don't really, there's only like one studio at NYU that teaches you about how to get an agent and what a casting director does and all of that stuff. And it's optional. It's like if you want to go there, you can, but most people don't, because they don't really teach acting. They're just more about the business. So I was just kind of like frustrated with that, and I was like, okay, I need to go learn this on my own. So I interned at a talent agency, like a really small one. They had like 4 people working there. And I started to like see all these people come in, and I was like, wait, I can do that. Like all these people that they're signing, like I can do that. And towards the end of my internship, I was just like, hey, you know, we'd all become friends at that point, and I'm like, will you guys sign me? Like, or will you guys let me audition for you? That's what I asked. And they're like, of course. So I did, and they're like, great, let's start working together. And then I went abroad for a semester, came back, and we just started auditioning right away. And it was my last year, because I graduated a semester early. So I just started, like I started off in pilot season, so that was pretty crazy. And then by the time we got to November, Riverdale started being cast, and I had heard about it, but I saw the role of Veronica, and she looked like, you know, like a white pinup girl, and I was like, okay, they're not going to cast me as that. But then I saw the description, and they were casting a Latina, and I was like, oh, I think this might be perfect for me. And so I called my agents, and they're like, we're on it already. And it all moved really fast. It was like, I had an audition on Friday, and then Monday was like the session with the producer, with our showrunner, creator, Roberto, and that was pretty gnarly. And then like, they put me on hold, and then January, they were doing the studio test. And so that's where, like, I saw Cole for the first time, and like Lily and KJ, and no, the only person there that's now in the show was Cole in the beginning, in the studio test. And then I flew back. They brought me back again for a second studio test, and then Lily's there, but no KJ. And then they told me I was making it to the network test. It's like this like never-ending process. Network test happens. I go in there and do the best I can. Afterwards, I'm in the elevator and they're like, wait, we need to talk to you. I'm like, okay. And I step out and they're like, well, you're our first choice as of right now, but the other girl that they presented you with, that's like your competition, they don't really consider her right for the role to begin with. So we're gonna open up another nationwide search to find someone who can compete with you. And I was like, like I thought, doesn't that mean I get the role, like I win? Isn't this the part where you give it to me? But no, I guess they were like, you know, I think it's also scary casting someone. I had no experience, I was just out of college. So like they, I think were a little worried about that. So then they opened up another nationwide search. I flew back to New York, and I just like waited, and they were like, okay, we'll tell you by Thursday. And then Thursday rolls around, they're like, next Thursday. And I just stopped hearing, and I was like, oh my God, like, I just lost it. And I like, couldn't sleep. I was like just crying every night because I felt so close to getting something, and then it was just like, why are they looking for someone else? If they wanted me, they would just choose me. But they ended up not finding anyone. So they settled with me.
Worked out, didn't it?
Worked out for them, I think.
So how long was that from, you know, those initial conversations? You mentioned a couple weeks, but was it a couple months or was it just a few weeks?
Well, I started auditioning in like late November, and I didn't get cast until like end of January or early February. Late January, yeah. It was like a 2-month experience for me personally.
Well, hey, congrats on our first job interview, and she lands it, right? So, walk us through. So now you're cast. You know, they're saying, "Hey, we're going to start filming." How long was it from that, from, you know, when they say you got the job to show up at this place we're going?
We started shooting in March,
Oh, okay.
so I had some time. And then after we shot the pilot, then we had to wait for it to get picked up by the CW officially for a whole season, and that took a while. I mean, we didn't actually start shooting until September.
Okay.
So we finished in March, and then I had like all these months to just wait.
What'd you do during that waiting time?
Went out a lot.
Okay. I'm seeing a
My
theme.
bad.
So, I know that each episode's a little bit different, but what's a typical day look like when you tape? You know, are you getting up at what time?
There is no typical day.
There's no typical day. Tell us
There's no
about that.
typical day. Like some days I have one scene and I work like 3 hours, and then some days I work the entire day and it's like a 15-hour day.
Okay.
Some days start at 7, some days start at 5. You know, like sometimes it's a night shoot, sometimes it's a normal day
Okay.
shoot.
How much do they, you know, how long does an episode take to shoot though?
8 days.
8 days, okay.
8 business days.
8 business days.
Sometimes we work weekends on hard. Like we just shot our second musical episode,
Okay.
and those are always like,
Spoiler.
no, it's not, it's out. We're doing Heathers. Do you guys know Heathers the musical? It's really fun.
Okay. But in that, I'm sorry.
No, I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, I think that's the end of it. That's it.
So in that, but in a week, some days you're maybe more of you for scenes, other days.
I was saying that it's like the musical episode is like an extra hard episode. So they usually give us like a little bit more time. So we shot on weekends, and we had like rehearsals and recordings and all that stuff. But even though it's like the most grueling process, it's like it takes a lot out of you. It's exhausting, but it's also the most fun because everyone's like singing and dancing, and like our cast can be so goofy that it's like it makes it fun.
So during those downtimes when you're not going out, it sounds down. Do other cast members, do you hang out with them? Is it, you all kind of have your own separate things you're doing? What's that?
We hang out as much as we can. It's hard to get us all in one place because so many people are like out of town, like doing things like this, you know what I mean? And like having, they're like kind of like pursuing our careers outside of the show takes up so much of our time. Because, you know, we're kind of in it for the long haul, and it's like, we shoot 9 months out of the year in Vancouver. And so you have like 2.5 months or 3 months, but mostly 2.5 months to like do a different project or do other things. And so while we're shooting, a lot of our weekends are being spent like working on other things, you know, going to events or, you know, publicity.
Do you all have any freedom to adjust your scenes as you go, or is it pretty stick to the script?
It's very much stick to the script. And I think that's just TV in general, unless it's a comedy. But like you can't even change a single word of the writing. So it's its own skill. Because I feel like when I've done movies, it's so much more like relaxed in terms of like, you know, whatever feels the best coming out of your mouth. Like just whatever sounds right for you, like say that. But I don't, you know, on Riverdale, it's like we have to get every word correct. But I come from that background, like in theater school, like the script is Bible, like you don't mess with that. So I'm okay with doing that. But I know some people like have more of a habit on the show of paraphrasing, and so the writers are always like, can you say instead of that? Like it's just little, details. But yeah, it's its own skill. It's its own like. Riverdale is very choreographed, you know, like the shots are picture perfect and like you would land on your mark and turn, you say the line, and it's got that kind of rhythm to it, which gives it the quality that it has.
Yeah. Excellent. Do you, so you can't improv. Can you think of any scenes you've done where someone just can't get it and you have to keep retaking it? Maybe it's, I love watching bloopers or outtakes of shows and such. Can you think of any time where someone just couldn't keep it together, or maybe one of those dramatic looks at the camera, just, you're doing it right now, see? Can you think of any of those times that that's happened, that you just, someone got the giggles?
It happens a lot. It happened really recently, but I don't know if I can share the story yet.
Okay, you don't have to.
All I'm gonna say is, no, it was just a scene in the musical episode where like it just made me so uncomfortable because I'm like in a
There it is.
so we're like in a bed, like half naked, and I'm like staring, like we're this close, and it's like a song.
Okay.
And like, you know, you have to sing over the recording of the song, so, you know, to make it look like it's matching. And so just hearing that was really funny to me, like just being that close to someone as they're singing really loudly. I could not stop laughing, and it was the end of the night. And everyone just wanted to go home. It was a Saturday, like we had to work all day on a Saturday, and everyone was just like over it. And me and Charles just could not keep it together. We just kept laughing.
Was there a point where like the other producers have or like get it together?
Yeah, they're like, guys, please, we know it's hard, just please. And we're like, no, we're trying.
Sure.
Or, you know, some people like try, like KJ tries to make everyone laugh on purpose. Like he just loves to fuck with everyone. Like, we were doing like again, the musical episode is when we really have those moments, because like some of it's just like, it's kind of like so cheesy that you just have to laugh. And like we're like all like lined up on a stage like this. Am I saying too much? Wow. And like there's like, we all sing and our arms raised at the end, and like KJ would like purposefully sing longer than the recording. So, and it's like a really dramatic moment. There's supposed to be like a dramatic silence after. And so when it ends, and KJ's still like, oh! And so all of us would break, because how could you not? And then the director's like, guys, please, but like, we're trying.
That's funny. So we talked about,
That's funny.
no, I'm picturing a bunch of older people who are like, I want to be done here, with a bunch of young actors and actresses saying like they don't appreciate it because they want to go home, right? So,
Yeah.
no, it is funny. Like, I would be that actor, the director saying wrap it up. So,
Not a news.
not it is. Favorite episode? Do you have one? Can you think of? I know you share the musical's fun, but is there one that either pushed you creatively or that you look like if you were saying you can watch one of my episodes, watch this one? Which one is it?
It hasn't aired yet. I just filmed it recently. Actually, it is the musical episode, but it's not the musical storyline, I guess. It's like the storyline outside of the musical stuff. Basically, because Veronica's going through like a lot of family drama. So there was like a lot of really, I mean, they're always going through family drama, but there's a lot of good emotional stuff in there. But like the most memorable scene for me was in the pilot. It was our finale. When we're like running through the snow, there's this like epic moment where we're all running through the snow, and like shooting that was like, it just felt surreal, because I'm like, when am I doing something like this? When am I like running through like 6 feet of snow, like with like all these cameras, and like I'm like wearing like thigh-high boots for some reason. I'm like not warm, we're all freezing. I don't know, it was just like a really surreal moment, and like we were all sweating from like running, so because it's like really hard to run that fast through like 6 feet of snow. Anyway,
So
that was fun.
that was funny.
It was fun.
That was funny.
It's fun.
I'm sure it was. We could go run through 6 feet of snow after this and step outside. So I don't know if you knew, but our students here got 2.5 days off of school this week because it was cold.
I heard.
They love it. And I assume they all studied and just hung out. If you had 2.5 days of no work, no nothing, what would that look like for you? Like, how do you fill your time when you're not again?
I feel like I literally haven't had like a day of like nothing, and it's coming. I'm gonna make it happen. I don't think I would do anything. That's the thing. I think I would literally just want to like Marie Kondo the shit out of my apartment. Like, that's what I want to do right now. Is just like organize my place, because I don't have time to like exist in my home.
Okay. So if you were done organizing, do you have a show you watch? Is there either
Bodyguard.
okay?
I'm watching that right now.
Okay.
It's definitely a mood, and like either it's one of those things where it's like I have to really want to watch it and like be in the zone for it. Sometimes I come home from a long day and it's like I don't know if I kind of just want to watch Michael Scott like go around. Like that's sometimes I just want to like rewatch The Office, or sometimes I want to like watch something new and like captivate me. So that's when I watch Bodyguard.
Excellent. So you get to do that sometimes. Is that maybe between the shots or just at night?
This year our trailers have Netflix, so that's been like game changing. I spend every time sometimes they call you and you're the first scene of the day, you're the last scene of the day, so you just have like all day on set, like just waiting around, and that's when I'll just watch a lot of TV.
I'm rewatching The Office for the 3rd time, so I'm with you. It's great.
It never gets old.
Yeah, it never gets old. So we were talking backstage, and I think this is kind of funny. I'll tell you a statistic that you'll like in a minute. But when did you have that first moment of, wow, I'm famous? Or, I can remember when I had it. But When was that moment? Maybe someone recognized you when you weren't expecting it, or then we'll tell you our fun statistic that we came to with your Twitter thing we talked about. But do you have that moment where like you're like, oh my gosh?
I don't know if I've had that like, wow, I'm famous moment.
Maybe when you walked out next year.
Yeah, maybe that is a little bit.
So
I think like when I do conventions, those make me feel like that. Those are crazy because you really meet like your most like dedicated fans, and they're like bulls, and it's like. So I think that's like the most gratifying, or like the most like wow, I've like made an impact on these people's lives. But I don't like have. I don't have like a one particular story.
And who are people convulsing?
Yeah.
So we're talking backstage. I noticed you have 1.93 million Twitter followers, right? Give it up for that, right?
It's so small in comparison to like Instagram followers, because like Twitter is always a lesser audience.
Excuse me.
I don't mean lesser like that. I just mean it's just like you don't get it. Anyway.
So we were talking backstage, and so you have 1.93 million. But what did you have before the show?
Oh yes. So I showed him a photo because our showrunner screenshot all of our Twitter accounts before the show came out, and he sent me mine, and I had 481.
That's less than I
But
have.
it's because I didn't even have a Twitter. I literally created it because they were like, you should have a Twitter. And I was like, all right.
So I would imagine a lot of our audience here uses social media. What if when you have 1.93 million followers, what do you think about when you tweet things, or do you think about things?
I don't really use Twitter that much.
Okay.
I only tweet to be like, watch Riverdale tonight, you know?
Okay.
But I'm mostly on Instagram.
Okay. Do you need them to follow you?
I don't even want to do anything.
Okay. You want to plug yourself. But when you're posting on those platforms, do you think like, you know, you have some 1.93 million, you could say something and people will listen. What are your thoughts on social media and, you know, folks in your age bracket, our folks in the audience?
It can be really harrowing. I don't know. Sometimes it like drives me crazy. Sometimes I just want to throw my phone at the wall and be like, I'm gonna delete my Instagram today. You know what I mean? I have those moments sometimes, but like it passes so fast. I think we just like, you know, obviously you're always gonna remember the like negative things that people say about you more than all the positive things. Like it could be like a sea of positive responses, and there's like two people having like a shit talk conversation on your photo, and like that is the one to make you just like lose it. And I think it's so minuscule because it's like you don't know these people, they're strangers. They're usually like 12 years old too. And like that's why I always have to remind myself when like people are like having these discussions online, like they're usually children who have social media, and it's like, why am I getting so offended by this like 12-year-old's opinion? Like she's gonna grow up, she'll learn.
So it can impact you though.
Yeah, like I can imagine that I would have been like on Twitter at like 12 or 13. I'd probably be a nightmare. I went through a Blair Waldorf phase in junior high when I was literally such a bitch. I remember this guy was like ignoring me. That we were like talking, we were kind of dating. And he was ignoring me, and then I came up behind him with an ice cream sundae, and I just poured it on his head.
That's 12-year-old you, huh?
Yeah, I was like 13. I was a kid. That was so good.
So if you would have social media, you said something about it, you would have said something nasty, and it would have been not good, right?
Exactly.
Well,
It's hard being 12. It is. You're going through changes.
Fair enough. So back to Riverdale, your character Veronica. How are you like her in any ways? Some of her traits. Tell us what traits you feel you and her share.
I think I've always been an ambitious person. I think Veronica's ambitious, but I also think I have a hard time hearing no. I think Veronica's also like doesn't take no for an answer, which can be a good thing, but like it also can mean that you just like don't accept things.
Yeah. How about no way like her? Any of the traits that you're like, that's not me?
I don't know. I think I definitely don't like sound like her when I speak. She's like always, you know, I have to like look up some words that she uses. But like, you know, there's a style of speaking on the show that's very extra. You know, it's like almost like decorative speaking. You know. So yeah, I don't think I'm as like quick-witted as she is. I don't like, you know, come back with like a snarky little comment. But also like, I don't have a writer writing everything I say.
Yeah.
So.
So you mentioned earlier working with some movies. Are there any, you know, as you think beyond this show, any types of projects, movies, shows you aspire to do sometime?
So many. I mean, I feel like I'm just starting my career, so there's still so much that I haven't even gone to. I really want to do a romance. I love romance movies. And not even like a rom-com, like an actual like Notebook type of romance. Like, I want to make you cry.
You want to work with Ryan Gosling?
I mean, it wouldn't be a problem.
What are there any, you know, when you start, I appreciate that you don't want the rom-com, you want the like.
Yeah, I mean, I love rom-coms too, don't get me wrong. I love everything.
Okay, so it sounds like you're open to trying a lot of different types of.
I won't do horror.
Oh, okay.
I don't like watching horror, so I don't think I would want to be in one. Do you know what I mean? Unless it was like really different. It's like not just a horror film, if they had like some kind of cool concept. I mean, I'm open to it, but I already, when I see horror films, I'm like,
Horror suspense, because there's a difference.
There is a difference. Horror.
Okay, so like bloody knives
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
Okay. No.
Like slasher films.
Yeah, no slasher. Okay. Any particular actors, actresses? I know you mentioned some that you looked up to as you were, you know, growing up. But if again your agent called and said, "Hey, we've got a romantic movie, or we've got this new thing that's not a horror movie, and we have this actor or this actress," who would those folks be that you would say right
Absolutely.
now? Absolutely.
I feel like there are a lot. Like Idris Elba or something. Like I would love to be with him. Or like, I mean, I love the whole cast of Big Little Lies. Like any of them would immediately be a yes. I don't know. I would say yes to like any actor in that world. Yeah.
And in our movies, with your filming schedule and such, is that something that is easy for you to take on now if you wanted to, or is that get challenging?
It's challenging. I mean, I can't take projects when I'm shooting, so it's only my hiatus, so those 2.5 months are like critical. So, and even those you kind of have to get clearance for. Like everything you do when you're on hold for a show, you have to take it through Riverdale. So like the flight here, like everything has to be overseen by them because you sell your soul. Yeah.
Yeah. So what? And you didn't really sell your soul, though, right?
No.
Okay, because you don't like horror movies, so I was like, you sold your soul. That was, yeah, a couple of you got that. It's like, oh yeah, I watched one of those movies where someone sells their soul. Yeah.
It was a dad joke.
I got a lot of them, so yeah, we're talking movies, we're talking Riverdale owns your soul. What is, you know, some of the, can you talk about any projects you have upcoming potentially? I know that you can't sometimes, but.
I can. I mean, there's one that's already been announced, which is The Perfect Date, with Noah Centineo and Laura Morano. And that comes out this summer, I don't know when. But I'm just like a supporting role in it, I'm not really. And it's weird because like I've noticed like articles keep using me in their headlines to promote the film in a way that's like making me look like I'm the lead and I'm not. and I just like want to flag that to you guys real quick. That's just like, I'm not the lead in this movie. It's Noah's movie. And yeah, I have another movie that it's an indie and it's still like finding its place, so I have no news on that one. It's called Coyote Lake. And then, what was that about? Huh? Chanel and Black, you're here? Girl, you find me everywhere. Much love. I see Chanel and Black. That's her Twitter.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
She doesn't use Twitter though, Matthew.
Did I out you? I'm really what? I don't. I'm sorry.
That was a moment. That was cool. So what were we talking about? Your project. Yeah. Okay. We had you got indie film coming.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I have a project that I can't talk about yet that I'm going to be doing over hiatus.
Okay.
But that will probably come out soon. So
That's great. So
stay tuned.
congrats on having all these jobs on. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So have you gotten any fan mail from maybe younger folks? I think of, are you inspiring? You were a young actress or aspiring actress once. Have you gotten any fan mail from fans or any of those inspirations?
I feel like no one really sends fan mail anymore. They just tweet you
Okay.
nonstop. Please notice me. Please notice me.
Okay.
But I did actually get fan mail before the show came out when we were shooting the pilot. Like there was like a hardcore Archie Comics fan that sent each of us fan mail being like, I'm so happy you're playing this role. It was really sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the times have changed.
Yeah. I know, because when I talked to like Luke Perry, who plays Archie's dad, he was like talking about how like he would walk into his trailer and it'd be just like filled with fan mail. And like just how different the times have changed where like that's not a thing. Like I never get like a piece of paper from anyone unless they've like given it to me. Like people write letters to me when they meet me. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, you just have a lot of 12-year-olds tweeting at it.
Yeah.
And some of them aren't cool.
No.
So.
And me. Bullies. No, not Chanel and Black.
No, you do that. It's awesome. So what did, maybe going back, you were a successful college student, you landed your first job. What types of advice would you give to we have obviously lots of folks, maybe potential actors, actresses in the room, but what are some of those, you mentioned maybe some struggles in the first year. Some advice that you would give these folks, because they're, maybe a few years behind you in terms of pursuing their dreams.
It's tough because, like, if you are in acting, I think I can speak to that. But I think, like, there is value in education, even if it's not necessarily necessary for the degree that you're pursuing, or for the career path that you're pursuing. Like, I almost dropped out after my freshman year. Like, I met up with my dad, and I'm like, I don't understand what the point of paying all this money is to go to school if like I don't need a degree to be an actor. I just want to start working. I want to start like getting myself out there, because as an actor, like, so many people start when they're like 5 years old, and like that's your competition of people who have been in the business, or the people that live in LA and like have showbiz families. And like one of my teachers in college made a list of all the working actors under 25 years old, that, and he would write next to them, like, how they got their start. And so many of them either had a famous father or mother, or were child actors, like, and most of them, the majority of them, didn't go to college. So I'm like, well, this doesn't reassure me anyway. Like, why am I here, like, shelling out all this money if I'm just going to be stuck in debt and not be able to support myself as like a non-working actor one day. And like obviously I got lucky, but a lot of people go to college and they don't, a lot of my actor peers went and are struggling, and I think for me, the way that I try to like make sense of college, like what my dad told me was, it's a period of enlightenment and it's a journey that you're going through as a person, and I can like feel the difference. I can like feel the growth that I've experienced in those 4 years of my life. Like I'm so grateful for those 4 years because I got to just be a person. Like I just got to be an artist and a person, and I didn't have to, and I know a lot of my, like not many of us on the show went to college, and I see them struggle a little bit sometimes because they never had that like safe space to just fail and be like, and like hit a wall, because now they're experiencing it in the public light. So they don't feel as like comfortable to like take risks or whatever because they're so scared of all the backlash, you know? And I've had those 4 years to just like be a bad actor sometimes and like try things and like, you know, my freshman year being an idiot and just partying. Like I like hit all those walls at a time where I felt safe because I was like in an institution, you know what I mean? Is that advice?
Yeah, it's pretty solid. I was going to say, I'm hiring right now in student assistants in the Dean of Students Office.
I'm looking for a job, man.
Yeah, that was good. That's what I
My
told
hiatus.
students. Yeah, come on over. I think it's solid, you know, $45K a year. You'll be rolling it. If you weren't doing this, and clearly you've been wanting, like you said, you've been kind of thinking of that since you were, that's all you remember, but what would be a job that you'd want to do if you weren't, you know, performing?
It's hard to say. I don't have any other skills.
Oh,
I think I would want to, I mean, I feel like every actor says a therapist,
okay.
but I kind of think that would be it. I think. I would have to be something that dealt with people. And I have been told that I'm a good person to talk to, like, you know, when people are going through like breakups or things like that. So I think I would enjoy that career path. I think I could have lived a very happy life as one.
Great. So it's interesting you bring that up, you know, counseling, therapy. Clearly mental health is kind of on the forefront of a lot of discussions on college campuses, I'm sure, maybe even in your industry. What is your advice for folks who, you know, might think they need to talk to them? You know, you're saying you might want to be a counselor, but I think we talk about it, that's a hard step to take. What's your advice to?
I think everyone should be in therapy.
Okay.
I started, seriously, I think everyone should. I mean, not all the time, not every week or whatever. Just like, I think people should be consistent in like going to a professional to just unload.
Okay.
Because I started seeing one for the first time when the show came out. Because I've been pretty public. I've talked about eating disorders as a kid or when I was a teenager, and I noticed a lot of those problems came back up when, you know, my fame was increasing and stuff. So I was like, okay, I need to go see a therapist. I've never been to therapy, and that's really weird to me that I've never gone to see a therapist about this. And it changed, I honestly, like, it changed everything. I used to be really obsessed with dieting. Like, I was just always like, you know, cutting this, cutting that, trying this, and like doing cleanses, and just none of it ever worked, or it just drove me crazy. It really just prevented me from living a happy life. And when I started seeing my therapist, she just started slowly introducing this idea of like, she's like, you need to stop being afraid of like, of carbs, or like these like irrational fears that you have, like of how much weight you're gonna gain if you start eating this thing again. Like, you need to learn how to trust yourself. And he kind of also taught me that like dieting is really unhealthy. Like, dieting is toxic. It just creates more obsession with what you're eating when like we pretty much do understand like what's healthy and what isn't. And I think when you start over-obsessing, when you start counting calories and not eating bananas because they have too much sugar or whatever, like, that's when it starts getting ridiculous. And so I just decided I was gonna stop dieting, and it's been like a year since I haven't done anything, and it's like, I I'm so much happier. And I haven't changed, like my body hasn't changed. It's just like, it's kind of crazy to me that I was living in that fear of gaining weight all the time. I was just so, that used to be such a thing, but I've just learned to like love myself and accept my body. And now I don't think about food in that way, and I feel healthier and stronger. Like I work out, I eat as healthy as I can. I eat a balanced diet, and that's what a happy life is, you know?
Well, thanks for sharing that with me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty open about it.
Yeah.
My point is in all of this is that, like, I don't think I could have gotten there without a therapist. I think, you know, and especially with something as, like, vulnerable as an eating disorder, there's kind of like, if you look around, everyone kind of has that mentality, and it can kind of put you back in an eating disorder if you go to the wrong people, you know? Like if you talk to someone, you know, who isn't a professional, and you're sharing them like, I'm so scared of eating bread, and they're like, yeah, well, you shouldn't eat bread like that. Like, you know, some people will say things like that because they also have these toxic ideas implemented in them. So that you're just getting like bounced back in that pattern. So I think it's so important to go see a professional, like it's their job to deal with what you're going through. And why wouldn't we take advantage of that?
Have you found yourself maybe amongst colleagues pushing them to therapy? Or, you know, you sound like a good listener, someone who likes to help folks out. Have you shared that perspective with any other folks?
What do you mean,
Like actors, actresses you work with, or have you noticed others who are maybe struggling? And I don't want to say intervene, that seems a little strong, but you know.
They're all pretty on top of their mental health, I think. Most of our casts, like, they already have therapists, and a lot of people in the industry do. I think it's pretty necessary. And I know that there are like specific, I mean, I haven't been to one, but there are specific ones that deal with like pressures of fame and you know, I think that's like its own, like there are therapists that specialize in that kind of experience too.
Great. Well, again, thank you for sharing that, and you know, words of encouragement too, because I think we've had lots of students, you know, for some people it's eating, for some things others. So thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
You know, we're getting close on time here pretty soon. Isn't that amazing?
Wow, it's funny how much
I know. So we've talked, you know, about maybe some next projects you have coming up. You said it's the first time in Iowa, which welcome again. Do you think you'll come back?
I don't know.
It's okay, you can be honest.
It's warmer. So, I'm sure you mentioned.
Depends what would bring me there.
Fair enough, yeah. So tell me, I know you traveled all over as a kid, moving, probably obviously filming locations. What's some of the neatest places you've been to in your journey that you would never thought you'd be saying that's a really neat place?
Because of my career or just in life?
Could be career or life. I mean,
I went to Korea recently.
okay, for your career, describe it.
For fun.
For fun. Okay, tell us about why Korea?
Well, I keep saying, my boyfriend's from there, or his family is, so I went there, meet the fam.
Okay.
Started a family.
How long were you there?
11 days. It was a very solid trip.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. And I hadn't gone traveling like that in a long time. Like, traveling to just like, you know, yeah, because I go to like LA, New York a lot, but that's like, you know, I'm used to it at this point, but I don't get to see like the world very often, so that was really nice. Honestly, the most like exciting traveling that I've done has been from personal, like in college. I traveled through Europe a lot when I was abroad, so it has nothing really to do with my career. Like the traveling I do with my career is just really LA, New York, Vancouver, and then like, you know, I try to move in Bastrop, Texas. Like that's.
So, you know, as a public figure, people can read about you, see things. What's something this audience wouldn't know about you from looking you up? Maybe a hobby you have, maybe an interest that, you know, not a lot of people know about. Do you have any hobbies?
I don't know what I do.
Other than drinking and going out.
Stop! Don't like feed that narrative. I'm different now.
I know.
That was the old me. But no, I just don't think I've ever, like, truly. I think when I was younger, I was like so intent on being an actor that I just like closed off anything else. Like I was just laser focused, and in a way, that was my hobby for so long. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, well now this is my work, and now I need to find something that makes me happy outside of it. Because I think if you put too much happiness in what you do, then that could be really dangerous. Like if I have a year where I don't work, like I don't want to be miserable. You know what I mean? So I'm like in a state right now where I'm like freshly looking for something to do outside of work that's going to give me a sense of peace.
Any ideas?
I don't know, crocheting.
Okay.
No,
You mentioned organizing. Some people.
No, I honestly, like, I'm not kidding. I've loved Marie Kondo for years, and I've been talking about her forever. Now she's a Netflix show, and I'm like, I knew her first. But I do love organizing.
Okay.
Like a lot. I think, like, I love it. So maybe that's my hobby.
Organizing. Okay. Well, it sounds like you're pretty busy, so you don't have the free time to, take a night class on crocheting or anything.
No.
But you can organize on those days off that you have,
Just
right?
watch a YouTube video.
Yeah. Keep yourself more organizational skills.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're going to wrap up here, and I know they don't want to see you go, but how long did you stay in Iowa? You said you're flying somewhere tomorrow,
I
right?
fly to Atlanta tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm presenting at the NFL Honors Awards.
Oh, great.
With a bunch of football players who I don't know because I don't watch
Okay.
sports. I honestly feel like I'm gonna look so ridiculous, like me being like 5'2" next to like all these like big, strong men. That's gonna be fun.
You're presenting the award?
Yes. And then I'm going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, great.
Mhm.
Have you ever been to the Super Bowl?
No.
Okay. Do you have a favorite team?
No.
No? Do a little research before you.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna. I don't even know. Am I supposed to wear like a jersey? I don't know.
I wear a Kansas City Chiefs jersey, probably. No, I wish we would have known we got you an Iowa State jersey to wear because your new college team's the Cyclones, I hope, right?
My what?
Your new college football team, the Iowa State Cyclones, that's our team.
Oh, really?
Good luck with the awards.
I'm embarrassed right now.
I know you throw a baseball term for something.
I mean, anyway, we were the Violets. Like, what is that? What are the Violets? Like, that does not sound scary.
Are these being televised?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
televised.
so
Tune in.
Saturday, tomorrow, the awards? Okay, we'll be watching.
I don't know what channel or what time, but tune in.
That's
Maybe
great.
ESPN, I don't know.
Just gonna wing it, I like it.
Yeah. I just show up when I'm told. I have a way more active role in my life, I promise.
Well, we're gonna wrap up now, and I thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Send you off. Any last sage words of advice for our students, or things you want to share that they may not know about you? Just kind of you get to drop the mic on this. So anything you want to share to end it?
Gosh.
I know it's open-ended.
No. I don't like these two.
You want to say anything?
No. I don't have any advice. I don't know. You live your best life. That's it.
Well,
Yeah.
I would say let's take a moment to thank this wonderful person who came all the way. You flew from
Vancouver.
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 So, thank you so much for coming today. Let's give a very warm